Welcome back into another episode of the Donnie Mays Coaches Show, presented by Generations Physical Therapy Centers. 7 convenient locations all the way from Charleston to Grayson, Kentucky, including one right here in Hurricane on Taze Valley Road. And, Coach, have you checked out my muscles lately?
Looking good, man.
I've been hitting up Snap. Yeah. Snap Fitness, usually right there with a Generations Physical Therapy Center. But check them out on their website, generationspt.com. Jack Withrow alongside Hurricane head coach Donnie Mays, and into an open week, but you had St. Albans on the road. Seems like so far back, but a game where you pretty much dominated from the get-go. It was over by the first quarter, 37-0 after the first quarter, 50-0 at the half. This was an opportunity, it looked like, to get your starters in, get them back out, and then play a lot of players.
Yeah, I mean, anytime you get up that early, you don't expect it, first of all, but when you get up that early, you get an opportunity to play a lot of kids.
We're checking out some stats from the St. Albans game. Quarterback Noah Villatambi, 6 of 11 passing, 184 yards and 3 scores on the evening. Sophomore quarterback Blake Bradley got in there. He was 4 for 4 for 50 yards. And then freshman quarterback Ian Duffy, 4 of 7 for 14 yards. So you got all 3 quarterbacks in there on Friday night against St. Albans.
And I thought all 3 of them did a nice job of taking care of the football. And they dispersed it appropriately with the reads that we talk about each week. So, kudos to them for listening and paying attention and making the right decisions.
Jeremiah Riffle, the senior running back, 6 carries, 100 yards on Friday night against the Red Dragons, 2 touchdowns. Also hauled in a 62-yard touchdown score. So another big night for your senior running back.
152 yards. He just did it a different way.
Yep.
And it's one of those things. If he had 18 to 20 carries,
hard to tell.
Yeah. Who knows how many he has? But in games like that, when it gets out of hand quickly, you start thinking about ankles. You start thinking about little things like just running into a kid and hitting your hand on the helmet, and you're not really focused on the next play.
Right.
So getting Jeremiah off the field was very important to me after he got what we felt was good football.
On the season, Riffle, 81 carries, 786 yards, 9 touchdowns, a 9.7 yard per carry average, and 150 yards per game. And I was looking around at max preps around the whole state. He's right up there with the top running backs in the state of West Virginia. Matter of fact, I think he's tops when you go and look at the yards per game.
Yeah, especially with AAA.
Yep.
Some of those other levels of football, they pretty much run the football every play. When you talk about Hurricane and what we do, we're going to try to be as 60-40 or 50-50 that we can, depending on how good we are at different positions. Yep. But he's taking advantage of every opportunity he's getting, and he's putting himself up there in contention for some major awards.
Yep. Also, running back Elijah Rivera on Friday night against St. Albans, 10 carries, 112 yards, and 2 touchdowns for Rivera. On the season for him, 23 carries, 232 yards, and 6 touchdowns. He's got a 10.1 yard per carry average. And you talk about how good these running backs is, but that all reflects on your offensive line as well.
Absolutely, and they're taking people and they're moving them off the ball. Now, I do say that, and I told them this in our meeting today, we did not play our best game up front with the offensive line last week. Matter of fact, it probably was one of our worst efforts. We were letting people get back too much between the guards and tackles, and that's not how we play. And it was probably the overall as a unit, probably the worst, but we still had production. But I think, sometimes when you play teams like that, your kids play to that level, the focus isn't there. So we made them get their focus last week, and we'll talk about open week here in a little bit.
Quarterback Noah Villatambi on the season through the first 5 games, 50 of 80. That's a 63% completion rate, 878 yards, 8 touchdowns, and 4 interceptions on Friday against St. Albans. Tyshawn Dews, seems like every game he's got a big long one for a touchdown. And he had a reception, 64 yards for a touchdown. Bryson Morrell hauled in 2 catches on Friday night, 52 yards and a touchdown. And we talked about Jeremiah Riffle. He had a catch for 52 yards and a touchdown. Defensively, I looked at it and your stats, 22 players registered a tackle, either a solo tackle or an assist on Friday night against St. Albans.
Got a lot of kids out there. And, some of those tackles it's because we swarm the ball together. The pursuit of the football is so important and critical to what we're trying to do, and our kids are doing a good job of just flying to the football and getting their hand on somebody. And sometimes they end up being there first and they get the tackle. So the critical part of it, I know everybody coaches that up, but I think our kids do a great job of getting to the football.
A couple leaders on that defensive effort for the Redskins. I was about to say Red Dragons. Linebacker Joey Keanu led the team with 8 tackles. Freshman Wyatt Sowers with 6 tackles on Friday night. And then Jacob Ellis, 6 tackles, a sack, and 3 tackles for a loss. That's pretty much par for Mr. Ellis there.
And considering the fact that we didn't dress Heath Montgomery or Mondrell Dean because we're letting them heal up a little bit, and that certainly paid off today at practice. But those guys stepped up. Wyatt Sowers got a lot of quality reps, and Joey's played for us a lot this year already. He's considered a starter in our book. We like to sprinkle Mondrell at the end, linebacker, and then Joey does the other part of it. So Joey's been real consistent for us. He knows what's going on as good as anybody at the linebacker position. So he continues that. He's going to have a great career here.
Yep. So got the victory. They go to 4-1 on the season, a 50-0 victory over the Red Dragons of St. Albans. When we come back, we'll talk about this open week that we just had and what goes on during an open week with the Hurricane Redskins. We'll be back. This is the Donnie Mays Coaches Show presented by Generations Physical Therapies.
Generations Physical Therapy is a Tri-States Championship partner for comprehensive physical therapy and sports rehabilitation services. Access to physical therapy has never been easier, with extended hours and walk-in services available. Generations Physical Therapy. Multiple services, multiple locations, experience you can trust.
Welcome back to the Donnie Mays Coaches Show. Jack Withrow alongside head coach Donnie Mays. And, Coach, you guys had an open week. Do you like the open week in the midseason, or do you prefer maybe later on in the season? Or does it matter?
I really don't know that there's a perfect time.
Yep.
I think somewhere after 5 is probably as good as you're going to get. You could be at the midpoint of your regular season, or you could chop it up maybe after game 7 and say that you got 7 more games left. So, just depends on how you look at things. One thing I know is the open week is not a week off.
Yep.
And you have to keep your mentality there. So what we did with our open week is we fix our mistakes. We focus on our mental mistakes as well as physical mistakes. We lift a lot. We actually lift every day, and we lift a little heavier than what we would normally do during a regular week. And then we get out and challenge the kids mentally with their conditioning, and it's not easy. But the good thing is everybody was fine, and they pushed themselves. And our kids, we took them out here on this hill. Coach Lamar took them out on the hill, and he killed them.
Yeah.
But the kids loved it, and they strive to get better, and that's fun to coach.
Yeah. Is that where a little creativity comes in to keep the focus, keep them motivated during an open week?
Yeah, and yes, and then we bring them out here on the field, and we do competition games and stuff like that, just to kind of keep things going. We had a little 100-yard relay, and they don't realize it, but they're running 100 yards as fast as they can. They're carrying a football, and they're flipping it to a teammate.
Right.
So they're doing how to carry a football, a full-fledged sprint, and then a scoop and score drill all in one.
Yep.
And we look at those things and just see who can move first of all. But we want them to compete. And I'm gonna tell you, we split those teams up, 70 kids strong, and it was to the wire, like nose to nose. Heath and Bradley finished the race, and it was right there, buddy. Yeah. It was good.
On an open week, I mean, did you accomplish everything you needed to during an open week?
We break ours up into days.
Yep.
Like having a special team day, a defensive day, an offensive day. So the focus.
So you zero in on those type. Okay.
Yeah. So then when you get to the 4th day, and on that we kind of do everything and get everything that we can out there and run through the plays just like a normal practice, and then you have some fun with them at the end. And then we gave them off Friday. I mean, I felt like that was important because they would have played that day, and I think it's important that they get to spend time with family and and they get to go out and do some fun things like go out to eat, things like that. So, I mean, we all sat up here and watched the middle school game the other day too together. So it was a good day.
So you gave them off Friday. That wasn't to celebrate your birthday?
No, it was not. Actually, that's wild, is it not?
43 years old now.
43.
Wow,
And
you're getting old.
And you know what? That might be the first time that my birthday's fallen on a Friday.
Open week,
in season,
Friday.
An open week, yeah. So, 43, I don't know.
What'd you do on your birthday?
Um,
Dinner?
yeah, we went to Recovery. That's one of my favorite places to go. And
Wings?
Wings, love wings.
Yeah.
I'm a wing guy.
You got a little meat on those wings down there.
No, the grilled bayous.
Yeah?
Yeah. I got Cliff Jackson at South Charleston.
Yeah.
He's hooked on them. He's hooked on them.
You seem to hook people on food.
I guess I got a good belly and a good taste buds.
So a good open week. It ended with a celebration at Recovery for your birthday. 43 years old. Happy birthday, Coach.
Thanks.
Of course, now we switch over, and right now in the polls right now and the ratings, Hurricane currently is number 6 in Class AAA in the WVSSAC ratings. That's where everything falls in for postseason play, and then you're 6th in the Metro News Power rankings. In Class AAA offensive rank, you're 4th at 46 points per game. Your defense is 3rd, giving up 11.8 points per game.
The most points they've ever scored here in a season, 2010, they averaged 41 points a game. So we set a goal at the beginning of the year that no matter what, we're going to break the record. It may be this year, maybe next year, whatever. But our kids bought in. We reviewed all that stuff today before we came out, and we told them, hey, we're at the midpoint. This is where you stand. This is what you've accomplished. This is what you got to do to make it work. So I like to set team goals with them more so than individual goals, because individual goals come when team goals are, done properly.
Right.
And I think our kids are buying into that part. And we were talking about with our receivers too, just about the targets. Like, quit looking at how many catches you have. Look at how many targets you have, because some of those things may be on you, like drops. Maybe it's an overthrown ball. There's a lot of things that go into it, but at the end of the day, if we take care of business, our ultimate team goals will be succeeded.
Yep. So when we come back for our final segment, we'll take a look at the upcoming opponent in the Princeton Tigers right here on the Donnie Mays Coaches Show.
Generations Physical Therapy is a Tri-States Championship partner for comprehensive physical therapy and sports rehabilitation services. Access to physical therapy has never been easier, with extended hours and walk-in services available. Generations Physical Therapy. Multiple services, multiple locations, experience you can trust.
Welcome back into the Donnie Mays Coaches Show. Jack Withrow alongside head coach of Hurricane Redskins, Donnie Mays, and we take a look at the upcoming opponent for this Friday night in the Tigers of Princeton. They come in number 12 in the SSAC rankings at 3-1. Their head coach is Chris Pettigo in his 6th year. He's 18-34 at the helm of the Tigers. And Hurricane Princeton, this will be the 7th all-time meeting between the two, with the Redskins owning a 4-2 record against the Tigers. And you guys have faced each other, you and Coach Pettigo. That was back in the 2020 playoffs at South Charleston when you guys defeated them 57-18 in the AAA playoffs. And we talked about the rankings of offense and defense for Hurricane, and Princeton's right up there as well. They're ranked 10th in offense, 32 points per game, and then their defense is 5th, giving up 15 points a game. And, Coach, I know you've looked at film on this team. Give us a little overview of what the Tigers might present Friday night.
Well, they have pretty good speed. They have 2 wide receivers and a running back that move really well. But everything but their offense goes through their quarterback. I mean, that kid started for him as a sophomore, so I got to see him live. And he can play. And he's got great arm strength. He can put the ball in places, make some great throws. I mean, I think the night that we played him, we had some really good D-backs and good D-line play. And he was still putting the ball where it needed to be. It was just we were in great position as well. Good football team, always coached well by Coach Pettigo. He does a good job. Defensively, they mix up their stuff a little bit to cover. They run some 2 safety stuff, and then they run single high. They'll jump into an odd front a lot of times, but they'll even split up and do some even front stuff. So it gives your team a little bit to more prepare for than normal. But they're good at what they do, and they're keeping people out of the end zone this year. So.
Yeah. And you're talking about the senior quarterback, Grant Cochran, 6'5", 220 pounds.
Yeah.
He's a big boy. He can stand in that pocket. 57 of 88, 65% completion rate on the season for Cochran. 830 yards, 10 touchdowns, and 4 interceptions. They've got a good running back as well. Marquel Lowe leads the team in rushing with 35 carries, 231 yards, and 3 touchdowns. And you were talking about their receivers.
Yeah.
Leading receiver is a junior wide receiver, Dominic Collins, 22 catches, 402 yards, and 7 touchdowns. So, yeah, they present a problem.
Yeah, you got to stop him.
Yep.
He can move. And the Markel Lowe, he does a really good job of being patient with the run game. So he's busted off some good runs this year. I know statistically it looks, like he's not involved, but he also catches the ball out of the backfield a lot too. So they do a good job of spreading the wealth.
Yep. Leading tackler on defense is their linebackers, Cameron Prophet, 44 tackles on the season, and their other linebacker, Brody Rice, with 36. Michael DiGiacomo, with 3 interceptions on the season, leads the Tigers. Defensively, we talked about where they rank. I believe it was 5th overall in points given up, and they've got some good defensive linebackers and defensive backs there.
I'm not sure if any of these kids played 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Cochran stands out big time.
Well,
but
yeah.
Some of the defensive guys I'm not sure about, but when you watch them on film, I mean, they've also scrimmaged Huntington, and they did really well in the scrimmage. I think offensively they scored on like an 80-yard jailbreak and outran some kids from that can move for Huntington. So they've got some speed.
Yep.
And then defensively, man, just like we talked about, just pursuing the ball and making sure that they're in the right place. Those guys do a good job of doing that, and you can see because they've only given up 60 points this whole year.
Right.
So
Right.
it's going to be a good defense. As far as statistics go, it is, the best statistical defense we've seen.
Yep. We're looking at their schedule real quick. They defeated Lincoln County 53-8, and then defeated Bluefield 28-7, and then Oak Hill in, I believe that was triple overtime, 20-17, and then Lower Dakota talked down in Virginia 28-27. That was a loss, a close game there.
And they actually kicked a field goal with 5 minutes to go in the game.
Yeah.
Took the lead, but there was a penalty, so they had to re-kick it. And when they re-kicked it, they missed it. And Botetourt ran out the clock.
Yep. So a tight loss there for the Tigers. Looking at Princeton, when you're on offense, what's the keys of the game for you this week?
I mean, like always, establish the run, but I think that we have to be able to open up our offense a little more. I think it's time to let Noah get out there and play some football, and it's his offense. He's got to take charge, and the more success he has on the field, the more success we're going to have overall.
Mm-hmm. When you're on defense and facing Grant Cochran and that offense, what's the keys to containing their offense?
Similar to the George Washington approach, you got to mix up what you're doing, whether you're dropping 8 or you're bringing pressure. You got to mix it up on him. A kid like Cochran, if you set back in one coverage, he's going to eat you alive.
Yep.
But if you mix it up and you give him different looks, and like I said, sometimes you're dropping 8, sometimes you're rushing 5 or 6. Changing his picture and try to move him and get him off his launch point. I think that's important.
Yep.
And I think our kids, they buy into that too, and that's kind of who we are defensively.
So open week is done. I'm glad that's over. We can get back to playing football.
Yeah.
Open weeks are good. If you got some hip injuries and some ticky-tack injuries to heal up, we've done that. Let's go and play some football now.
And it's homecoming.
It is homecoming,
It's homecoming
here
this week, and
Yeah.
it's my first homecoming here, and I told the kids, it's always a great time to get everybody back, come back, watch a football game, and enjoy the time that you have this week. You've got games, you've got lunchtime games. They do lunchtime games here, so it's really cool. So it's my first time too. Remember that. And they do Powder Puff, and and the kids get to coach it on Fridays and compete the seniors versus the juniors versus the sophomores versus freshmen. They do all that for a championship. But I told them, remember one thing: there would not be a homecoming if it wasn't for the game of football.
Yeah.
So everybody's coming to watch you, so make sure your focus is there. I think they're locked in.
Okay. I hope they are, because I've been craving a biscuit.
Yeah.
I'm like withering away here.
With an open week, it kind of makes it worse, doesn't it?
Yeah, I had like a Sheets burrito. It didn't set well. But anyway, Coach, we appreciate you again joining us on the show Friday night. It'll be Princeton Tigers visiting Redskins Stadium to take on the Hurricane Redskins. We hope to see you out here at Redskins Stadium. Until next time, this is Jack Withrow along with head coach Donnie Mays. This is the Donnie Mays Coaches Show presented by Generations Physical Therapy.